I'm doing another lap of the roundabout. Woohoo! Look out, bin lorry, I'm coming for you. Hark! It is the Citroen Ami electric car, and I'm here in Coventry to put it through its paces. And as the owner of a very fine Citroen 2CV, I'm going to look at some of the comparisons, because a lot of people are saying this is the 2CV for the 21st century. Is that right, or is it a load of bunkum? Let's find out. Thank you very much to Readly for sponsoring this video. Here is my own Citroen 2CV, currently in pieces because I'm doing some work on it. Readly is a monthly magazine subscription, effectively, but not just one magazine, offers thousands of titles that you can check out on your mobile phone, your tablet, your laptop, and enjoy reading many, many magazines. Here I take a scroll through some of the classic car titles that are available there. Classic Cars, Classic Car Weekly, which I used to work on, and Classic Car Mart, which incorporates retro cars, which is perhaps where my peak interest is in these world of magazines. As you can see, you can go into each magazine, you can take a look around, see what's in there. You can switch to a mobile format if you're reading on your mobile phone. It really does offer an awful lot, which is why I was happy to let them sponsor this video. Check the description below for a link which will take you to a month's free Readly access, so you'll instantly get access to all these magazines. It then becomes a rolling subscription at £7.99 a month unless you cancel, and yeah, I think you will find it very interesting. So thanks Readly, check the link below, but for now let's get back to the Ami and see how it compares with my humble 2CV. Oh, I've been looking forward to this one. This is the Citroen Ami, new in 2020. It is an electric vehicle. It is a quadricycle, which is why it's quite so tiny. It is very, very cheap, £6,000 in France, apparently, if you want to buy one. Although primarily they're aiming for the car share market. So you can go to Paris and you can hire one of these and, you know, just drive it around and generally enjoy it. And then take it back and wash your hands of it, quite literally, in these coronavirus times. A lot of people are saying this is like a modern 2CV, and it is. It's very simple. It's only available in this sort of a grey colour, just like the first 2CVs were. Any colour you want, as long as it's grey. The door this side is the same as the door this side, so this one opens in a suicide manner. The front and rear panels are the same, so they've done everything they can to get the price down, because, you know, £6,000 for a brand new car is frankly nothing. We move inside. First of all, you open the door by pressing this button, and then the door poppeth open, and you'll see we've got 2CV-esque folding windows that fold up and lock like so, and then can be pulled back down again and slam shut just like a 2CV. It is ridiculously simple. And the slight Citroen quirk is to have the gear selector on the seat down here. It's quite echoey in here because really there is nothing in here. If I pull the door shut, there we go, we are in. This is the tag to release said door. See, that's showing some wear already. That may not have been their best idea, but look how simple it is. I've got luggage space and my bag is currently in it. Space in the doors because there's no winding mechanism. But really there's nothing. I think my own 2CV has more switches. Look, we've got hazard lights, which aren't working because the ignition's not on, apparently. So if we turn it on. There we go. That's quite nice. We've got a heater fan. Jeepers. We've got a heated ventilation for the windscreen, which I think is just this fan here. So that's very loud, but it is making a certain amount of pleasant noise. Shush! Thank you. USB port, obviously, and you dock your phone here normally. Apparently the bit that does that is missing. We've got this lovely window here. You'll have to apologise for this beautiful view of my Rover 75. I'm going to turn the lights off so I don't flatten the battery. So that's a bit 2CV-esque to have some lovely sunshine coming in without the need of opening the roof in this case. But yeah, very simple, very, very low tech indeed in here. We've got a manual handbrake, which delights me. Why do electric cars have electric handbrakes? That's ridiculous. But you'll note we've got no safety kit whatsoever. We have a bog standard steering wheel, no airbag here. We do have seat belts, luxury. Look, 2 seat belts. The driver's seat also is very firm and not the most comfortable seat I've ever sat in, so that's a key difference to a 2CV. It adjusts forwards and back, and that's about it, just like a 2CV. The passenger seat is entirely fixed and goes nowhere. There's a little hatch back here for accessing the screen wash and the fuses. No rear wiper, just like a 2CV. But yeah, it's very simple. We've got this area here where you can put stuff like your breakdown cover in this case. So handy little, very, very flimsy flap, and I think the whole thing lifts out if you just want the storage down there. We've got some, look at that, hydrocoolic. You'd normally put a Bluetooth speaker there, which can connect to your phone, so you don't need to have your own built-in tech, which is just going to date. So I think that's a really good idea. It's very, very simple. I like simple cars. I'm going to pull the door and we shall step out. This takes some getting used to, but I think that works quite well. The door does require a bit of a slam. This one's got a bit of a tweak up package. It's got some color coding bits going on, and apparently there's more stuff you can get, even roof rails. But yeah, it's a really seriously funky looking little car, and I'm going to pop some lights on just so we can see them. So we do that. I turn it on with this key here, just conventional key. Wait for it to go beep. There we go, and now the lights will be on automatically, but let's put those hazards on again. And you can see indicators a long way from the lights. These very powerful tiny little LED headlamps are very good. Tiny little LED indicators as well. And then if we come around the back, it's the same panel, it's just the lights are now red, presumably brake lights in there, no high level one required. And these funky little indicators, the same as you'd find on the front. There we go, Citroen Ami, 100% electric. So yeah, I think it's very, very interesting. Miss Hubnut is absolutely gutted she can't be here today. Childcare taking the priority there, because she adores this and thinks it's brilliant. But what does it drive like? Right, well, here goes. You can see my beautiful Rover 75 there. It's washer the windscreen. Oh yeah, washer on the blade. That works really nicely. And yeah, it's not the best. It doesn't sweep that side of the screen at all. So it's leaving quite a spot not wiped. No triangle of doom, of course, which is a Hubnut slogan, if ever there was one. But nonetheless, having concluded the important business of the wiper test, I engage drive, I take off the handbrake, and away we go. Manual steering, very refreshing, so no power being wasted there. It's under 500 kilograms even with the batteries, so it does not need to have power steering, so it hasn't got it. The ride is feeling somewhat firm at the moment. Take it nice and steady. Top speed is 28 miles an hour to meet European quadricycle rules. I want to see what it accelerates like. Whoa! That's actually much perkier than I expected. So perky my bag fell over. I should have attached it to the handy attachment point for attaching your carrier bags. There is regenerative braking apparently. It isn't very aggressive, I'll say. Let's go for VMAX. And that's it. 28 miles an hour, 45 kilometers an hour. We are at VMAX. A fair bit of noise. I'm guessing they saved a few quid on the soundproofing. And it's worth remembering these quadricycles in France can be driven by someone just 14 years old. In the UK, you can drive one at 16. Really, Citroen aren't aiming for another car with this. They're aiming for the scooter. They're aiming for public transport. And at the moment, people are feeling very dubious about public transport. So the idea of having your own little capsule is a lot more appealing, even if it's not yours, even if you just rent it for the time you need it. So apparently they've sold about 2,000 in France already. And I've noticed my windscreen is starting to mist up a bit. I'm going to have to put on the noisy fan just temporarily. No air conditioning, it's just a simple resistor pack. Yeah, it doesn't really get up and go. You just get up and meh. I'm going to turn that off, that's just too noisy. Of course, being an electric car, I've got this regen effect when I brake, so it's charging the battery back up. But you come to a stop, and it all goes blissfully quiet. Now that's something a 2CV doesn't do. Let's do a turning circle demonstration, because it is tight, I should say. That's going to be quite useful. Woohoo! We'll talk power. It's a 6 kilowatt electric motor, I believe, with a 5.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, good for a range of about 43 miles. That top speed is going to help. The fact that top speed is limited can only be a bonus. Now, if we compare with the 2CV, when the 2CV was launched, the 2CV had 9 brake horsepower from its 375cc engine. So that's fairly similar, but what the 2CV didn't have is the 40 Newton meters of torque that an electric motor has. And of course, a petrol engine, it only produces maximum torque at one point in its rev range and maximum power at another. Whereas an electric motor, it's very linear, so you don't get all that much difference. I really shouldn't be going onto the ring road. I can only do 40 miles an hour. Oh, sorry, 45 kilometers an hour. It's 40 mile an hour limit. But what the hell? Let's go for it. Yeah, this is feeling very slow. And we've dropped a kilometre an hour going uphill. I think I'm not going to join the Coventry ring road. It is notorious, I would say. Oh, there's an H fan down there. That's nice. Yeah, lifting off produces very little in the way of regen, but excellent visibility. It's so easy to see what's going on when you haven't got a Fiat Punto blocking your view. So this is what this car was built for doing. It's not for going out on rural roads. It is purely for bombing around cities, and it's perfect for that. Excellent visibility, and you perhaps don't mind the complete lack of any crash protection whatsoever. I guess that's something it has in common with a 2CV as well. 2CV is not overly blessed in the crash department area. The doors are a little chunkier on this, I must say, but I don't believe we've got any ABS. Yep, that rather confirms it. No ABS, no traction control. This is simple motoring. This is the motoring I love. And I do not love brand new cars as a general rule, but I'm liking this one. It is, as Citroen say themselves, it's non-conformist. Of course, non-conformist also means it doesn't conform to any safety standards at all. So the fact it hasn't got any safety standards may make you think twice about buying one. But remember, Citroen are aiming this at the scooter and public transport. Public transport doesn't usually have seatbelts. Public transport doesn't usually have your own little space like this. I think this is wonderful. Oh, I've upset it again. I'll put it in neutral then, shall we? But really, if you're comparing with a 2CV, there is a point where the comparisons start falling apart somewhat. Comfort is definitely one of them. This seat is absolutely horrible, and I don't like it at all. The ride is definitely not what you'd call Citroen smooth. And where's the practicality? In the 2CV, I've got a rear seat. I can take all the seats out for picnics. And I need to make another point as well. If they do sell the Ami here, and they're currently gauging opinion on that, it will stay left-hand drive. Although I have to say that's not proving too much of an inconvenience for me. It feels like a little go-kart actually, and that's fitting because it's about as comfortable as a go-kart. I've gone the wrong way around the roundabout. I'm doing another lap at the roundabout. Woohoo! Look out, bin lorry, I'm coming for you. Let's see, average speed check. I haven't got to worry about that. It's worth remembering that the 28 mile an hour top speed may seem limiting, but in most city environments, I'm not even on the throttle at the moment. I'm nowhere near maxed out. There's a lot of 20 mile an hour speed limits coming in, which means you could still get a speeding ticket in your Ami. That'd be something to frame and put on the wall, I think. But I think I've had enough of driving down this boring road. Let's go and see what we can find down here. Or maybe I'll just pull a Yui. Test the turning circle. Oh, that is superb. Look at that. So refreshing to drive a brand new vehicle that feels so simple, although the steering wheel's already managed to go off centre. So that's not all that impressive at 716 kilometres. But you can hear that the ride is definitely on the firm side. And mixed in with the seats, which have almost no padding on them. I mean, frankly, I've encountered better seats on a bus, and bus seats are terrible. Yeah, could be better in some ways. I'm going to open the window. Oh yes, that works very nicely. I'm a little unsure about getting your drinks at the drive-through. Hello. Thank you. Breakfast is served. Lovely. Thank you very much. Right, let's go and find a parking spot. Let's try and answer some questions. These are been asked by members of the Hubnut fans page. It's an unofficial page. It's nothing to do with me. Will Dunn, I'd like to know how good a successor it is to the original. The original Ami, I would still rather have an original Citroen Ami. They are amazing things. Johan Gillenpen, will it do a burnout? I don't know. I shall put it in drive. I shall leave the handbrake on, and we'll see what it does. No. Is it any good if you don't live in a city or large town? Yes, but I'd say if you're going to drive on 60-mile-an-hour roads, it's going to be terrifying. So I would suggest not doing that. But for me, I live in a rural town. But when I take my merchandise to the post office, it's a journey of only a few miles. The engine is not getting warm on a conventional car. Whereas the electric car, it doesn't have a petrol motor, so you haven't got to worry about it. The electric motor is good to go. It hasn't got to warm up. You're just away, and that's it. So it depends on your circumstances. I couldn't actually charge this at home at the moment. I could at my unit, so there's an option there, but that could be an issue. But you don't have to charge it every day unless you're doing 40 odd miles in it. Which way round is it, and is the crash protection your knees? Well, yes, it does look very similar front and rear. That's to save cost. And your knees are thankfully quite a long way from the front. The windscreen is miles away. I can't reach the windscreen. Nigel Ford, does it conform to current safety protection regs? No, because it's a quadricycle. It meets quadricycle regs, which are very, very minimal. The Aizams, Ligiers, they build awful little sans permis cars in France. Generally have 2-cylinder diesel engines, sound absolutely horrific. That's what this car is competing with, really. But it's trying to tempt people away from scooters. You know, if you had a 16-year-old child, would you rather they were in this or a scooter? Oh, there we go. Because of the glass roof, I can give you the perfect view of the road ahead and the limitations of that single windscreen wiper. Yeah, that's a lot of unswept glass going on there. That's going to impact your visibility. Away we go. All struggling a bit for traction on the wet leaves there. Did you see that? That was almost a burnout. Yeah, your key requirements in a town car are nice, easy controls, and there's nothing easier than an automatic. Well, yeah, an automatic. Electric vehicles drive like an auto. You have 2 pedals. It doesn't even seem to have self-cancelling on the indicators. That's brilliant. I hate self-cancelling indicators. Is it coming through? What's he doing? You're just going to stop there in the middle of the road, is he? Yeah, well done, mate. At least I can squeeze through my tiny little electric car. Yeah, you can't light the tyres up, it just doesn't want to do that. And given the fact it can be driven by 14-year-olds in France, that's probably no bad thing. But of course, compared to those usual sans permis, which often have tiny little engines, this feels much nippier and far, far less rubbish. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a scooter trying to be a car. Oh yeah, she will understeer. Oh, but yeah, the handling is very safe. So I think you'd have no qualms about putting your nearest and dearest in one of these. Oh, here we are driving around the centre of Coventry. I've turned that fan off. It's not really making me any warmer at all. It's just making an awful lot of noise. But as you can see, having the panoramic roof, A, it makes it easier to see traffic lights, and B, it just gives you this wonderful view of city life. What a wonderful mix of buildings you have here in Coventry. Haha, I found it. And there's no better comparison there. They've even both got suicide front doors. The legendary Citroen H van, first seen in 1947 front wheel drive, monocoque construction, independent suspension, quite remarkable technology in production until 1981. This is one of the icons of Citroen's history. Will the little Ami be one of the icons? I don't know, it's early days yet. I mean, let's not forget the 2CV was a very simple, very crude machine when it first came out in 1948, and it evolved in ways that made it an awful lot better. My 1980s 2CV is nothing like an early 1940s one, so I would like to see this car get better. I think they could fit a bigger battery pack, fit a bigger motor, and have something that will rival the Renault Twizy in terms of pace and still count as a quadricycle. That would work. You'd then be able to do 45 miles an hour maybe, getting on for 50, which means you could use the car in many more places than you could at the moment. Here, I really am stuck in city limits with this little car at the moment. Looking at it on its own, certainly it's not really a 2CV. I mean, yes, the 2CV was designed to replace the horse and cart, and this is aiming to replace the scooter and buses. So there's some of that non-car aim of this particular car. But yeah, I can't really say I'm tempted to jump out of my 2CV into one of these. Would I have one as well as my 2CV? Well, I'm not the sort to drop £6 on a car, but if I was, I think I'd be very, very tempted. I think it's a surprisingly useful vehicle. I think if you had one, you'd be amazed at how often you could actually use it. We're not all doing 200 miles a day. We're not all bombing up and down motorways. Most of us live in cities. We drive to the shops and back, and that's about it. And for that, it's going to be ideal. Yes, it hasn't got a boot, but as long as you don't take a passenger with you, there's a surprising amount of space. Let's go and open the other door, because I haven't even done that yet. There we go. I mean, look, you've got all this space down here. There's loads of room. So even if I'm sat in the seat, look, space aplenty. But really, I think I'm going to wrap that one up there. And that was the curious and rather marvellous Citroen Ami. I hope it becomes as iconic as the Citroen H-Van. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. Many more interesting videos to come. And I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Farewell.